Whooshes, wine, and fat loss. All right, this is a strange combo of words, but it's going to make sense when we get done. We're going to be talking about whooshes on the scale. So whooshes, basically what it is, it's when someone has been losing weight for a while or they're already really lean. Those are the two people that we see them in the most, and especially in people who have been losing weight for quite some time and they're already pretty lean. We see whooshes a lot in them. And so what a whoosh is basically like as you're losing weight, like say you've been in a consistent calorie deficit, you've been losing half a pound a week, a pound and a half a week, 2 pounds, whatever it is. You've been consistently losing weight, your calories are dialed in, you've been executing consistently, and then all of a sudden you stall and the weight doesn't move for 2, 3, sometimes even 4 weeks, and you start freaking out. People start freaking out because they're like, I've been in this calorie deficit and now I'm hitting a wall, so it must be time to change something. Stop. If you've been losing weight, losing fat consistently, and then you all of a sudden stop, it is not like stall. Something's going on that has nothing to do with like, you are still losing fat during that time. Your body will slow down in how much fat it's losing, like slowly over time, but it will not just stop all of a sudden like that. It just won't. And so what is almost always going on is a whoosh is about to happen. And many of you might have experienced this and you didn't even realize what was going on. So what happens is, I learned this from Lyle McDonald. He's been in the industry for decades. He's got a lot of great work on training and especially on fat loss, and even more specifically fat loss for women. I do feel like for whatever reason we tend to see this even more in women, but it does happen with both men and women. So you get these whooshes where you're losing weight and then you stall. And so what actually is happening, and we don't understand why this happens, but what is happening is as you're losing fat, the fat contents are pouring out of the cells, but then the body is refilling those fat cells, at least temporarily, with water. And then eventually, for whatever reason, it decides it's time to release that water content, and then you'll kind of wake up overnight with a whoosh. And so that person, maybe you've been losing a pound a week, and then you stall for 3 weeks, and then you wake up the next day, and then you're down 3 pounds. And you're like, what in the world? What happened? It was almost certainly a whoosh, all right? So you were losing fat the whole time, but your body wasn't revealing it yet because it had filled up those fat cells with water. And so one of the things, the reason I talk about wine, you don't have to do this. A lot of times it will correct on its own. If you just stay in that calorie deficit, it will correct on its own. But it can really weigh on people mentally. So I'm going to share 2 ways that you can address a whoosh or help it come along. So you can, number 1, you can actually drink a glass of wine. Now this should be like a dry wine with no sugar. If there's a bunch of sugar, like a white wine, then I think white wine has sugar. But anyway, if you've got a wine with sugar, that's not really going to help. But alcohol, for whatever reason, and I'm not talking about having multiple, like a pint of glasses of wine, that's not what I'm talking about, but like 1 glass of wine, 5 ounces, 1 serving, will oftentimes you'll wake up the next day and you've lost multiple pounds. Now, this just quick caveat, we only do this if this is really messing with somebody mentally. Otherwise, I would just say write out the whoosh, all right? This is also not, like, don't wake up and think, oh man, 1 glass of wine helped me lose 3 pounds. So like, what's 5 glasses of wine? Like, don't start doing the math on that. It doesn't work like that. It's simply that the alcohol it's a diuretic and it's promoting the water coming out of the fat cells for whatever reason. This works like 8 or 9 times out of 10. Just a fun little trick. Another thing that will often fix it is if you actually do like a high calorie day, and it can't be like you hit up the donuts and you hit up donuts and McDonald's and the buffet and fried chicken, like you're gonna be super bloated and after that. But if you do eat like a bunch of calories, maybe a lot of steak and rice, that oftentimes, for whatever reason, I think partially they think that maybe the whooshes happen, the fat cells fill up with water almost as like a stress response, because losing fat is a stressor to the body, even though it is good for your health as well in the long run, until you get super lean. But anyway, it's another story for another day. But so eating a lot of calories will often like reduce stress levels, and for whatever reason, a lot of times people will wake up with a whoosh the day, or that will fix that stall by waking up, eating a lot of protein, calories, carbs, clean foods, but you're eating a lot of it, and then the next day they'll actually wake up several pounds lighter. So anyway, really the main prescription is like if you've been consistently losing fat and you stall for 3 weeks like out of nowhere, your body did not you did not hit a plateau, I promise you. As long as your like diet and training and walking are all the same, you your body didn't just like stall, your metabolism didn't just drop overnight. Not true, okay? That doesn't happen. You'll see a slow dwindling, a very slow dwindling, where you might need to slowly bring your calories down, slowly increase your activity over time. But again, that is a long, slow process. You will have ample warning. But when you run into this, the number one prescription I have is just write it out. But if you don't want to do that, if it's starting to really stress you out, if it's been 3-4 weeks, try a glass of red wine, just one, 5 ounces, one serving. Because some of y'all's glass of wine is like 15 ounces. So anyway, one serving, 5 ounces of a dry wine or a red wine with no sugar, basically. Okay. And then the third prescription, if you don't want to do that, would be eat like a higher calorie and higher carbohydrate day, and that will usually fix it. But if for whatever reason, like you are dialed in on all those things, you've got this stall, and the wine doesn't work, the high carb, high calorie day doesn't work, just keep writing it out, keep doing your thing, keep being consistent, don't change things. It's one of the worst things that you can do. The weight will come off. If you've been losing weight consistently and there's a stall, the weight loss is coming. The cameraman bumped the camera. The weight loss is coming. Just ride out the wave. The whoosh is just around the corner.